Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Tuesday, March 8th, Ian Cameron, and it is Tuesday, which just means it's a big Tuesday for us here on the Ice Guys. Not only our normal 7 days a week daily show, which we're doing right now to break down every single game on the NHL card from a betting perspective, but later tonight, it is our Tuesday night betcast, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to be with you for the whole night of NHL action because there's no real late games tonight on the NHL docket. There's a ton of games, 11 on the slate tonight, but the latest game is 9 p.m. Eastern when the Washington Capitals take on the Calgary Flames, which should be a very interesting matchup there. So for that reason, we will be on with you for the entire betcast tonight, right till the end of that Washington-Calgary game, which should be approximately 11:30 p.m. Eastern time, midnight on the East Coast. So looking forward to it. Again, it's a lot of fun. It's a relaxed, casual atmosphere on the betcast. Lots of great camaraderie that we have with our viewers and our listeners. And of course, we invite you to bring your own booze, BYOB, whatever that may be, beer, champagne, as Alex brought one night on the betcast, whatever drink and libation tickles your fancy. Make sure you bring that with you tonight on the betcast. We're looking forward to that. And again, if you want to be on the betcast or you want to ensure you get a spot on the betcast, all you got to do is send me a DM or anybody on the crew, and we'll make sure that we get a DM or a link for the betcast sent to you before the betcast begins tonight. Jimmy, we've got a huge Tuesday slate as Jimmy's with us via audio. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm on the road again, Ian. So if I crap out, I apologize. I'll do my best.
That's all right. It's better than no Jimmy Murphy at all. And I'm sure our viewers and our listeners would agree. All right, let's get right to it. I mean, no time to waste. We have to move with haste. We've got a betcast tonight. We'll be on the air a lot. And this is a huge card. So let's get right into it. We start with probably the game of the night, at least on paper. Florida Panthers, Pittsburgh Penguins. Florida minus 120. Road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Should be a great matchup here. Obviously, both teams playing some high-level hockey at the moment. The Pittsburgh Penguins have won 3 of their last 4 games. And look, they've beaten some good competition, too. This isn't some win streak where they've been feasting on the weak during this little run that the Penguins have put together. 3 of their last 4 wins, the Rangers, Columbus, Tampa Bay, obviously, and a very impressive beatdown on the road over the Lightning last week. And then in a very tough spot against the Carolina Hurricanes, both teams were on a back-to-back. Hurricanes were off a pretty poor performance against Washington. Certainly were chomping at the bit, and I thought Pittsburgh played pretty good in that game, toe-to-toe. Carolina probably took a little bit more of the territorial edge as that game went on, but still a valiant effort from the Penguins in a 3-2 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes that night. So there's definitely a lot to like with the way the Penguins have played here in recent games. You look at the matchup here, everybody's excited about it. Mike Sullivan saying, I think it's great. We're playing teams that are legit contending teams. These teams are all at the top of the league in the standings. It's great for us because it forces us to have to bring our A game to have success. It makes us better, and it prepares us for the games that we have in front of us. You look at the 2 meetings, Florida with a 5-4 home win in October, Pittsburgh with a 3-2 home win in a shootout in November. Keep in mind, though, the Penguins back then in those October and November games, remember, those were back in the part of the season where there was no Sid, there was no Evgeny Malkin at that point in time for the Penguins. Remember, they were out for a long period early in the year, and so they didn't really play in either of those games against Florida earlier this year. Now you've got them back, and definitely should, and obviously you need everybody at your disposal you can get when you're playing this Florida team to just continue to score goals for fun right now. There are a couple depth forwards, though, that are on the injury list now for Florida. We know Ryan Lomberg, in addition to being a pest, and an agitator, he's actually a pretty decent hockey player as well. And he has been an impact for Florida, so he's out for this game. Anton Lundell got injured last night in the game against the Buffalo Sabres. He will not play tonight as well for the Panthers. Jari in net for the Penguins. You'd expect Sergei Bobrovsky to be starting tonight for the Florida Panthers, given the fact that we saw Spencer Knight, who actually played very well last night. It looked like Spencer Knight starting maybe use that time down in the minors in the AHL to get his confidence back, because he looked like a much more confident goalie, very sure of his angles. Lateral movement was good. Rebound control was impeccable last night. There was a lot to like from what I saw that Panthers-Sabres game with the performance by Spencer Knight, who struggled earlier this year. So it's a great game. I'm kind of leaning Pittsburgh a little bit, though, considering the spot that it is for Florida, back-to-back. It's not easy to fade the Panthers, obviously. They're scoring goals in bunches. They're explosive offensively, but we've seen recent evidence Pittsburgh has raised their game against these elite level teams. They've shown ability to do that. They've got the scheduling advantage in their favor tonight. When you look at, they've been off for 3 days coming into tonight. They played Carolina on Friday, so they've had a lot of time to really get their game ready for this very, very good Florida Panthers team tonight. Whereas for the Panthers, it's third game in 4 nights for them. So I like Pittsburgh a little bit here. You can get them, even money, slight home underdog, even in some spots. I think Pittsburgh's a side worth betting here in this one. Andrew McInnis is with us now as well. Andrew, we'll start with you on this one. It's one of the games we're most excited about being on live during the betcast for tonight, Florida-Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. Great to be here with you guys, and looking forward to the betcast tonight. I'll be on early. I'll be on right from the start with you this week, Ian. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, there's some great games to discuss and great games for the betcast. Hey, look, it's not like we've had some bad games before, but there's going to be some good ones tonight for the betcast. Looking forward to it, having some drinks and hanging out with the crew. Look, there's 2 angles really you can take this game and kind of approach it with. Number one, Pittsburgh back at home after 2 tough games and now continuing their tough stretch here against really talented clubs. They've been battle tested. The other angle is obviously the back-to-back with Florida, but also the fact that they haven't been tested recently, right? They've been playing Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa. That's who they've played recently. And yesterday, you could argue that, their bottom 6 could have played the entire game and they would have won that one. Would you agree? That's the thing that you have to ask yourself. How much does a back-to-back matter when you dominate that much, right? True. It's kind of like an NBA team when they rest their starters in the fourth quarter and they have a game the next day. How much can we really care about a back-to-back spot for Florida after they won in dominant fashion? You give me an overtime win last night for Florida, I'm handicapping this game way differently, So, look, I cashed a nice ticket on Pittsburgh against Tampa Bay. I was on the sidelines in that game against Carolina, but I'm actually going to fade Pittsburgh tonight, and I don't like doing it. But I am on Florida at minus 120 tonight. I think that Pittsburgh is going to be a little bit, caught off guard, I think, just off the scoring touch of the Florida Panthers. They're relentless. They've got countless guys that can contribute. And, I think that Pittsburgh's a better defensive team than they get credit for. And even if they get off to a tough start and Florida scores early, might be hard for them to rally back into the game. So it's going to be a really good game. My take is Florida here. I just think back-to-back games against Carolina and Tampa, not easy to keep that same sense of urgency, albeit they have a little bit of rest, but I'm looking towards the road team here.
All right, like in Florida, it's not easy to go against Florida, although they did lose 3 in a row midway through February. They went through a little swoon there. It was right after the All-Star break where, they started their defensive game really started to fade away a little bit. They had games where they gave up 6 to Nashville, 6 to Columbus, 4 to Edmonton. They didn't play well defensively in those games, but they've tidied it up big time. 3 goals in the last 3 games allowed. Now, Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa, little sisters of the poor element right there in those 3 games for Florida. So, let's see how they do against Pittsburgh tonight. But there's no doubt 3 games combined, 3 goals allowed. They have played better at the defensive end after that little rough stretch that they had. Jimmy, what do you think? Florida, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, look, Andrew, I love you and I value your opinion, but I'm going to be the complete contrarian here on that, because I actually think if I'm looking now and I'm starting to, and I am, you start this time of year where you start to look at potential playoff matchups and who can beat who in the playoffs and who's built for the playoffs and who's not. I look at the Pittsburgh Penguins and I look at the Florida Panthers, and if they go head-to-head in a series in the playoffs, I'm hands down taking the Pittsburgh Penguins, just simply based on playoff experience. Wow. And based on what you actually pointed out there, Andrew, is that they play a more defensive style. And this is maybe, to me, the best two-way style Penguins team that we've seen in a long time, at least during Sidney Crosby's era. That's how they're winning these games, a lot of these games. They're not the old, teams like the Florida Panthers are now, where they were just dependent on offense and all their star power and skill. They're a very well-coached, well-constructed two-way team, and I think they're a horrible matchup for the Florida Panthers, especially now, like Ian said, coming in against – they've looked at the Sisters of the Poor there, and they've had a nice little run here. Now they're going to go up against
that phrase is rubbing off on you, isn't it, Jimmy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're just going up against a team that's probably had this day circled on their calendar a lot more than Florida had it circled. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are a great live dog here. In fact, give me the Penguins in regulation to take it to the Florida Panthers.
I thought it was going to be Jimmy alternative puck line for a minute. When I first heard that, -1.5, but he's going to go regulation, a little safer, a little more cautious with Pittsburgh.
A little safer.
Real quick, Jimmy, I back in I think November, I actually bet and released to the people that follow me Pittsburgh to win the East 9-1. So I agree with you. I'm with you on what you just said. If this is a playoff matchup, I'm betting Pittsburgh too. So there's no disagreement there. I love the way that they play defensively, and at 9-1 back then, I thought that was too good to pass up. And the number is definitely a little bit different than it was back then. So I'm with you.
And look, I'm not trying to discredit everything that Florida's done, guys. I think they're a great team, and obviously you look at what they went through when they, midway through the season, they end up losing Quenneville. And Brunette's come in and done a great job. Nobody really talks about that. He's kept it rolling. I mean, they should be proud of where they are, and they accomplished a lot. And I think the sky's the limit eventually for this team. But they haven't won a playoff round since when? 1996? I mean, this team needs to suffer more before they become a legit cup contender to me. And I think these are the type of games, maybe they do go in there right now and they get battle tested. They take a loss against Pittsburgh, but they remember that in the playoffs and they say, look, this ain't the regular season anymore. It's not run and gun. We have to tighten up like Pittsburgh does. So maybe it's a learning experience for them as well.
Yeah, very possible it is. I mean, that's definitely Florida does. That's always the concern with them. And even with a guy like Bobrovsky, who's had a very good season overall, playoffs have been hit or miss for him in the past. So even he's got to, show what he's all about really when the games get going for real, May and June, when we're talking Stanley Cup playoff hockey, no question. This is a good prop game, so, and obviously I'm going to mention a lot of props on the show today because of the fact we've got the betcast tonight, so that not only are we going to watch our sides and our totals and our first period bets in action, but we're going to have a chance, I think, to look at props in action as well, player props. And I'm telling you right now, I'm absolutely floored by this, that there's some books offering plus 400 on him to score a goal tonight for the Florida Panthers. But Mason Marchment plus 400 to score a goal is totally absurd. That is absolutely ridiculous. You can get that kind of price right now. He's now on the top line, by the way, for the Florida Panthers tonight. That's how much the ascension has happened for Mason Marchment with his production. Didn't have a goal last night, but had 3 points, 3 assists. That's another thing. If you can find point props for Marchment, have at it. I mean, this is just something you got to jump on now before nobody's paying attention to this. He's got 6 points in the last 3 games combined. This is something you can absolutely take advantage of. He's -125 to get 1 point tonight. So not only am I liking that, minus 125 to get a point, Marchment. You can get him at other places too. There's some books that have the 1.5 on him points at plus 450. Plus 450. That's value right there. Top line minutes tonight for Mason Marchment with.
Am I not mistaken, Ian? Was he not originally a Maple Leafs property?
Yeah, and Dennis Malgin went the other way. Yeah, who?
Yeah.
Dennis Malgin.
How's that trade looking for that? What a great organization the Leafs are. Just seriously, they may be one of the shittiest run organizations in the history of sports.
Well, they've made. What's funny, guys? I cashed
tonight. Like Dubas signed Bunting. He's done some good things as well, but that was not a good one. That was not a good one. Yeah, that was a rough one for him.
It's funny. I cashed I had a decent bet on the regulation for the Leafs yesterday, and while I'm watching them, I'm like, man, I hate this team. It's like I love the spot for them. I did like a couple paragraph analysis on the game, talking about how much I like the Leafs spot, And I'm watching the game like, I never want to bet on these guys again, And like, Jimmy, I would take Florida over Toronto in a playoff series.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'd bet it.
That always happens to me when I bet the Yankees, Andrew. As
The
a
Yankees,
Red Sox fan, it's like it's so hard for me to do, and then when I do it, they lose, and I'm like, see.
So that's the one I'm really zoning in on. And Barkov over 1.5 points is just the gift that keeps on giving too. Not to score 8 points for Barkov. I'm talking about 1.5 points. That, and at a plus price every game, you can bet that a plus price, plus return on your investment with that every time you take Barkov over 1.5 points. And that's just been very good because he just factors in on so much of the scoring for Florida. The only concern with all this is, the good defense that Pittsburgh has, and the fact that they're capable of tightening it up, making this a lower scoring game. But I still would look at those Panthers props. As far as the Penguins are concerned, there's some good options on their side as well going into this game. Malkin's not a bad look to score. 4 of the last 5, he scored a goal for the Pittsburgh Penguins. 6 of the last 10, and you get plus 200. For the number of times he scored in the last 5 and the last 10 games, and you can get almost plus 200 on him to score a goal or in that range. That's pretty good. Duclair's got it going at the moment for the Florida Panthers as well. So there's definitely some good options there in the goal scoring market, but there's no doubt Malkin plus 200, an option. Of course, I mentioned Marchment already. It goes without saying there. Maybe Carter Verhaeghe starts to heat up now. That's 2 in the last 5 that he scored for the Florida Panthers. And he got on the board last night as well against Buffalo. And he's also on that top line with Verhaeghe. So Verhaeghe is another one to go with, I think, for the Panthers or consider, because I think he had a little drought, but can definitely find a way to heat up again. Hornquist's actually started to chip in lately as well. So a lot of different options. But Malkin's probably my favorite when it comes to the Penguins tonight. Plus 200 for a guy that scored in 4 of the last 5 games for the Penguins coming into tonight. All right, Vegas and Philly. We've got the Golden Knights Flyers. Golden Knights minus 180, road favorites here. 6 the total in this game. Obviously for Vegas, they're trying. All of a sudden, they're in a situation where nothing's guaranteed. For the Vegas Golden Knights, nothing at all. I mean, they're in a very tight race in a Pacific Division at the moment, where in that division, you got to be in each division, you got to be in the top 3 to be guaranteed a playoff spot, and they're in the 3rd spot right now, 68. But Edmonton's still only 4 points behind them. So these are important games for Vegas, especially when you're playing teams that, in theory, on paper, you should beat. But I will say this for the Flyers, and you look at their recent games; they're still only 2-8 in their last 10 games. But you start to look at some of these recent results. They had Pittsburgh beaten on the night Crosby got his 500th goal. And they let it slip away. A 4-2 lead. They lose 5-4 in overtime. They had a lead against Washington in the 3rd period. They lose 5-3. They were toe-to-toe with Carolina. In fact, outplayed Carolina that day. But Martin Jones was in net. So you know what happened. They lost 4-3 in overtime. 4-1 St. Louis. Don't be fooled by that score. 2 empty net goals for the Blues. Got it to 4-1 when it was 2-1 with about a minute to go. They beat Washington the second time they played the Capitals in February, 2-1. Let's move on. 3-0 Edmonton, but guess what? Mikko Koskinen stood on his damn head in that game. He was absolutely outstanding, and the Flyers actually, I thought, outplayed the Oilers a little bit. 5-4 loss to Minnesota. Again, a lead in the 3rd period. Flyers lost it late, though, and then they get the win against Chicago, 4-3, where they actually rally from a deficit to win that game. The point I'm trying to make is they're 2-8 in their last 10 games. This has been a competitive hockey team in those 10 games. This has been a team that, for as bad as the season's been, this has not been a rollover, fold the tent, and go home Flyer squad. They have not played that way, not by any stretch of the imagination. And when you look at the situation for Vegas, they're not winning games easily right now. That's the issue. And if I'm going to lay $180 on the road, even with the superior team, I got to be somewhat convinced they can win this game comfortably. I don't think the Vegas Golden Knights, with their personnel situation right now, still very bleak, although they do finally have Pacioretty back, which is an enormous, obviously a huge return that they've at least got him back. But still cluster injuries on the blue line. Martinez and McNabb are 2 critical blue liners for this Vegas team. They're out. Mark Stone's out. William Carrier is day-to-day. Brett Howden's out, and don't sleep on his absence. This guy has really stepped up to the plate for the Vegas Golden Knights this year and played, I think, much better for them than people thought. And you look at the scheduling spot, they're starting this road trip, traveling from Vegas. They only have the day to get acclimated to the Eastern time zone. So I expect the focus to be there, but they're not winning games easily. I mean, barely squeaked past Ottawa, needed an Eichel goal in the final seconds of regulation to win 2-1. They lost to Anaheim. They barely beat Anaheim, I should say, 5-4. They lost to Boston, 3-1 against San Jose. They were in control, and even then, it was never fully, a blowout by any stretch. They lose to Colorado. They lose to Arizona. You get my point. This team has been in a lot of close white-knuckle games, especially in the third period, and that's why I'm not quite totally comfortable laying minus 180. Do I want to take Philly? At this price, I'd probably take Philly before Vegas, but I'm not going to do it against the Vegas team that's got to get 2 points in spots like this. Carter Hart's in net, so that's going to give the Flyers a better chance, certainly, but don't sell the Flyers short. They have been playing some more competitive hockey of late. So for me, this is going to be an in-game type of betting situation for me when it comes to the betcast tonight. Pre-game, I'm probably not going to have much on it before the puck drop. Andrew, what do you think here? Vegas, Philadelphia.
Well, I think that we're at that stage. I mean, there's not much to say after all the great information you just listed off, Ian, besides the fact that Vegas is in a different spot than they were when we were talking a month and a half ago, and I think it's, something that you said a long time ago that I always remembered was must win doesn't mean will win. And, it's something to always keep in mind. But I think having said that and using that expression, desperation, it is what it is. I think teams in certain spots are more for example, if Vegas wasn't playing the way they are and they hadn't slid like they have over the past couple of weeks, I would be less likely to put my money on Vegas in regulation like I'm going to tonight, if that makes any sense. I mean, to me, this game means more to them right now than it probably would have if they played 2 months ago, just how competitive their division is, the health of that team and how up and down it's been. And even that game against Ottawa, I was impressed with it, Ian, even though it was low scoring. I had the over in that game, took the L. I'll take that. It's all good. But there was lots of chances for both teams. That was one of those goaltending duels where if you're not watching the game, you have no idea that over, to me, I thought wasn't even too bad of a bet, watching the game, even though it fell completely short. And I think Vegas continues to pepper with shots. I think you look at, certain guys like William Karlsson and some of the top line players, even defensemen, to get involved and jump up in the rush and look at some props there. So I'm going to look at some props. I haven't done my complete prop research, so I'm not prepared with that quite yet. It's obviously a heavy card, Ian, so I only had kind of my sides and totals opinions ready so far for today. But I'm going to be looking at some Vegas props today because I think that as much as the Flyers have been hanging around and playing better defensively, I guess, and I've said it on the show a couple days ago, this is a team that's kind of playing not to lose, if that makes sense. And they're playing defensive, which is good, but I think Vegas, with the way that they press and the amount of shots on goal they put forward every game, it might be too much for Philadelphia. So this is a Vegas in regulation for me tonight.
All right, Vegas in regulation for Andrew here with the Golden Knights as they take on the Flyers. And yeah, in terms of prop games, this could end up being, because Vegas is really playing a lot of lower scoring games lately. Aside from a third period with Vegas and Boston, which just blew up in the third period and had a lot of goals in it. There's been a lot of unders lately with Vegas, and they've been playing pretty tight hockey. So will we see that again tonight ends up being the big question. Jonathan Marchessault, John Masserole, as Don Cherry would call him, absolutely been very good lately. There's no question about that. If there's one Vegas prop you may want to look at, it's Marchessault for sure lately for the Vegas Golden Knights. Been playing some good hockey for them of late. All right, next up we've got Colorado and New Jersey. Avalanche on a back-to-back after getting a victory last night against the New York Islanders. Pretty emphatic victory. They blew that game wide open in the third period. And we got our Devon Taves plus 400 goal scorer prop last night. How about that? It was a great night with goal scorer props. You look at it, and I went 9-18 and plus 5 units, or plus, actually, the way I bet it, they're 0.1 units for me, so they're actually 0.5 units of profit for the night.
That's a good call, man. I thought about taking his shots even. I couldn't even get to the window with the goals like you, but I thought about getting there with the shots, and Couldn't do it. So yeah, good call, man. That's good.
No, it was good.
And that just goes to show, once again, I'm always preaching this, that some games mean more to players than others. And nobody can argue that, even with that example right there. The guy scored twice.
We've had hockey players on this show say that same thing.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to argue that. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you score twice against the team that you're with before, hard to argue it.
Yeah, and again, Devon Taves against his old mates there, the Islanders, and chipped in on the scoring. My gosh, I mean, talk about that game goes from dreadful for me with the LA Kings against Boston last night. They look like they're going to lose 2-1, which is just not what I was hoping to see. They come back, they tie it in overtime and win it, or tie it with 30 seconds left in the third period, and then win it in overtime to cash the Kings' best bet at plus 175 for me yesterday. And look who scored the tying goal for the Kings. Someone I took to score a goal at plus 450, Trevor Moore. And it was just, it couldn't have worked out any better. We get a plus 450 prop winner with Trevor Moore, and then the Kings win it in overtime. You talk about just a dream scenario there for me. I was very happy to see that, no question. Anyway, getting to Colorado, New Jersey, I'm not getting off the wagon that is New Jersey team totals. First period team total over and full game team total over. All but one game for the New Jersey Devils has seen their full game team total go over. All but one of them have gone over their team total, and it's 2.5 minus 120 here. Every New Jersey game since the All-Star break has seen them score a goal in the first period, and I'm sticking with that as well. They have scored a goal in every first period since the All-Star break. And why is that, you ask? Because they got everybody back now for the most part, although Hischier is day-to-day and may not play tonight. So keep an eye on that. He may not go for the Devils tonight. He's got a little bit of a lower body injury. He may not suit up tonight. But other than that, everybody, like I said, we've got Sharon Govich, we've got Mercer, we've got Bratt, we've got Hughes. We've got everybody on back again for the Devils. Dougie Hamilton, one of their best offensive defensemen. And absolutely, I think this is a team that I've been riding their team totals in the first period and the full game. And that's the way I'm going to look here, with a little sprinkle on the full game over as well, because I do think we got the chance to see some goals just overall in this game tonight, with Colorado tired, fatigued a little bit on the back-to-back. And keep in mind, they had to make the trek from Denver to New York to get the road trip started. And now you're playing on the back-to-back on the road against a New Jersey Devils team that actually, if you read some of these quotes, Ruff, the coach, from Hughes as well, saying, with this Colorado team and the fact that they can be scary offensively, we're going to welcome that. They want to push pace, believe it or not, the Devils tonight. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because the Avalanche are playing this back-to-back on the road, and let's see what they're made of. And the Devils feel they have the speed and the youth to keep up with the Colorado Avalanche in a game of that style. Track meet, little up and down, little rush chance type of game. New Jersey wants to, thinks they've got the horses to be good in a game like that. Certainly what they've done offensively since the break wouldn't indicate otherwise. And we know Colorado is dangerous as all get out playing that way as well. So I think it's goals in this game, over 6.5. Dawes is probably going to be back in net for the Devils. Kemper in net for Colorado. And Kemper's had a little swoon lately. He's given up 3 goals or more now in 4 of his last 5 starts. He got pulled against Calgary. Certainly will want to bounce back from that, but definitely a guy kind of like we've seen with Jack Campbell in Toronto, Cam Talbot in Minnesota. Just guys that go through this period of time during a long season where they struggle with their confidence and they fight the puck a little bit. Darcy Kemper's having one of those moments right now for Colorado. So 2 Devils team totals, first period full game, and also the over full game 6.5 for me as well. Andrew, Colorado, New Jersey.
Well, this is one of those ones where I'm just praying that we get a slow start so we can all be on the betcast together and make some good money on. Remember that a couple weeks ago, Ian, when you and I both were just like, all right, with the Blues game, okay, I'm getting in again. And I think like three of them hit or something like that. This is one of those ones, though, I just don't think that could be the case. This is one of those ones where you want to get in before the puck even drops. I think that we're going to see goals from the get-go. We've absolutely, beaten it like a dead horse. The fact that this first period over with New Jersey is just unbelievable, whether it's 1.5 or 2. We're seeing goals here. Obviously, Colorado on that back-to-back. Yesterday, I don't think that they would have liked the way they ended that game, though. Just a really, look at the half of that game compared to the second half. I thought it was a really weird performance from both them offensively and defensively. But the Devils always give you a test, especially at the Prudential Center or in New Jersey. And I think that we're going to see an absolute track meet here. So I'm gonna look at over 6.5 here. Hard to talk you off that New Jersey Devils team total as well. But I think both teams get together and score. I'm really hoping that we do see a slow first period, though, because I might take a look at a second period alternative over, because both these teams, I think, could, if they are cautious out the gate, we could see a second period be a huge period in this game. So just some material for the Ice Guys betcast tonight I'll be looking for. And it's always fun when we bet those periods, whether it's a period puck line or a period total, it makes it kind of fun here on the live shows.
Yeah, and Jack Hughes over 1.5 points. I'm going to probably look toward that again. What's he gone in terms of over 1.5 points? 3, 4, 5 of the last 7 games. He's gone over 1.5 points for the New Jersey Devils. And again, you get a great plus number on that, and you'll get an even better plus number on that because they're playing a great Colorado Avalanche team. And as a result, a lot of the times with the player props on a team that's a big underdog, you're going to get better prices with them when they're playing better competition. And so you can get the over 1.5 points for Jack Hughes instead of plus 140 or 50. You can get plus 200, plus 225 even in some spots with that. So that's a look for me. Jesper Bratt's kind of slowed down to goal scoring wise, 3 straight without a goal after that crazy run. But, the chances are still there. He had a point the other night against St. Louis. I'd still look maybe for something on that as well. But Sharon Govich does a lot of his goal scoring at home. So there's another player to keep in mind. Certainly for the Avalanche, when you look at it, Burakovsky, we've mentioned him a lot. Devon Taves over points. I mean, he's much more involved in the offense than he's been in the past. Definitely a lot of different ways you could go in with that. Makar over points. He's really starting to churn the points right now for the Avalanche, driving that offense, driving the play from the blue line, which has been very impressive to see as well. And also an interesting note here in terms of shots on goal, which, most of my props lately have been goal scorers and points, not as many with the shots on goal. But we've got Rantanen for the Avalanche, 6, 4, and 5 shots in the last 3 games. I mean, he has been absolutely shooting the puck a ton. So the over 3.5 shots with Rantanen probably might be a good way to go here with this prop for him in terms of shots on goal. He's been, like I say, eclipsing 3.5 shots on goal a lot here in recent games. All right, Arizona, Detroit. We got the Red Wings minus 175 home favorites, 6 the total in this game. So finally, the dam is about to burst here for Arizona defensively and with their goaltending. And look, Wedgwood's doing what he can, but he's facing 40-some shots, high 30s in shots every single night. Both Arizona goaltenders are facing those kind of numbers. And finally, the dam burst against Ottawa. They gave up 5 goals, but they scored 8. So they were able to win that game 8-5. And I had the Coyotes team total over 2.5. My goodness, that thing cashed early in the second period of that game. Look out for this Arizona team. I mean, they won't be thrilled about giving up 5 to Ottawa, but this is a team that I never thought I'd see a 6-game swatch this year with the Arizona Coyotes where they're 4-2 at any point this year. But that is definitely the Coyotes here. 4-2 in their last 6 games. Beat Colorado, beat Vegas, 8-5 against Ottawa, beat Dallas, who are all of a sudden the Stars playing pretty good ever since they lost to the Coyotes that night on February 20th. So, give this Arizona team credit. And look, there's a lot of things I like about Detroit. They play hard. They've got some offense with Larkin and Raymond and Bertuzzi, and I like what they can do up front. But this is still a team that's a losing team. It's 1-4 in their last 5 games. They did beat Carolina in overtime. They've been pretty solid at home. They gave Toronto a go at home as well. Let's not forget that. But this is a Detroit team that's 1-4 in their last 5 games, and the overall record for them this year is 24-32. They actually have a 16-14 winning home record, but still. Is that enough to explain why they're minus 175 against Arizona playing the way the Coyotes are playing right now? I mean, my goodness, it just feels like a little bit of an overlay here with 2 teams that obviously are playing for exercise, no playoffs on the horizon. for either of these squads right now. I like Arizona here. I think it's just a price play for me. I mean, when you look at it, plus 150, plus 160 on Arizona, playing some of their best hockey of the year. They're finding offense at the moment. Clayton Keller over shots. Clayton Keller score a goal. Clayton Keller points. Look at that. And without a doubt, Nick Schmaltz for the Arizona Coyotes. He has got to be on your prop sheet. You know, if you're going to be betting props tonight, or you got to have Nick Schmaltz on your card. Simple as that for the Arizona Coyotes right now with what he has been doing. It's been pretty remarkable. He's been on fire lately. At an incredible 7-point game. Think about that. He had 7 points. He is factored in 7 of the 8 Arizona goals on Saturday against Ottawa. 2 goals, 5 assists. He scored 5 goals in the last 4 games combined, 9 points in those games. He's going over his shots props as well, 3 and 5 shots the last 2 games. All things Nick Schmaltz here for the Arizona Coyotes. Shots on goal. Could go to score a point, over 1.5 points to score a goal. This is going to be a Nick Schmaltz prop party for me here in this game with Arizona and Detroit. Larkin and Seider shots. Yes, Seider's been trending up in shots. Mo Seider for the Red Wings. I agree with that. Larkin, of course, is always a consideration. So it's a good prop game, which is kind of a giveaway here. That I kind of like goals in this game, and it's hard to argue with that. The total's gone up from 5.5 to 6. If you look at those advanced numbers, I know Andrew looks at those a bit. Expected goals in that. Arizona's expected goals against, they're off the chart. They should be giving up like 3-4 goals minimum in a lot of games. Finally, the dam burst against Ottawa. I think that's a sign that, hey, you can't be living on the edge and giving up 40 shots, 38 shots every game and expect to hold every team to 1 or 2 goals. Eventually, that's not going to sustain itself. So I like over 6 here. Andrew, what do you think? Arizona, Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that was look. I'll say this about the Arizona Coyotes, Ian, and I've been saying this for the majority of the season here. Teams get up for certain games more than others, and I talked about that with players just a few minutes ago. It's a winnable game for both teams. You know, you enter these games, you can't tell me that if this, Coyotes team was playing Tampa Bay tonight, sure, they want to play upset. They did it against Colorado several times, but they know in their heads, hey, this is a team that's, lower in the standings just like we are. And I think both teams are going to be hungry tonight. I don't really expect much of a defensive game. I expect both teams to kind of be trading opportunities. I'm going to narrow in on the first period over 1.5 here and just look for goals early on in this game. And, people always ask me, what separates a full game over from a first period over for you? And I always joke around and say, you know what, a lot of times when I take the first period over, the full game also hits too. But I just expect a fast start from both teams here. Lots of heavy shots. Look at the schedule that both teams have had recently. I just think that this is kind of a bottom feeder versus bottom feeder game. And right from the puck drop, we see competitive hockey. So the irony is, even though people might not love these teams, this actually could be one of the closer games of the night. And I mean that. And I think that it's not going to be because of good defensive hockey. It'll be just because of competitive hockey. So over 1.5 first period for me.
All right, liking the goals early here in this game, Andrew, with the Coyotes and the Red Wings. Another good game for props. And look, there's been inconsistencies from Delkovich and Grice for Detroit, certainly from Wedgwood and Vejmelka, although it's going to be Vejmelka tonight in net for the Coyotes. And it's more that both of these teams are struggling at the defensive end right now. And it hasn't looked that way for Arizona. But again, their numbers lately have indicated a team that should be giving up way more goals than they have. And finally, they gave up a bunch against Ottawa. There could be more signs of that to come moving forward for this team. So definitely I'd be looking toward a situation here with goals and a lot of props here. Like I say, a very good prop game, in my opinion, here with the Coyotes and the Red Wings. All right, we got Seattle and Toronto next up. Back-to-back for the Leafs. We got Toronto minus 260, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. The Leafs taking 10 years off the lives of their fans and backers last night with the end of that Columbus game. That was as hang on for dear life a victory as I've ever seen. And because that game was just inches away from being 5-5 in the final 10 seconds of that third period. But the Leafs did hang on. They ended up getting the victory over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Man, that first period, they were awesome. That was the exact start that Sheldon Keefe and the team wanted. They got it. Unfortunately, Columbus got stronger as the period went on, and as the game went on, they had a much better second period. And Toronto had their issues at times defensively with that once again, which has been a recurring theme for them. So now they're on a back-to-back. Seattle's the more rested team going into this game, but it's probably the only edge Seattle has. They haven't had a great start here on this road trip. They lose 5-2 to Washington. They lose 3-2 to Carolina. Actually, they were pretty relatively competitive in defeat against the Hurricanes. That wasn't a bad effort for them in their last game, but we'll see how they fare here. But Toronto, they just put the boots to Seattle when they played them earlier this year in the Emerald City in a beatdown over the Kraken. Fairly one-sided it was. Final score in that game was 6-2 in favor of the Leafs. Game went over the total. I'm not going to probably take Toronto on a second of back-to-back. They seem to keep teams hanging around with the issues they have. And Jack Campbell's back in net tonight for the Leafs on the second of back-to-back games. And he's just going to keep getting questioned about where his confidence is. And Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan are going to have to keep answering questions about, are you going to go after a goaltender at the trade deadline until Jack Campbell sorts himself out? And he's got another opportunity to do that tonight. But you look at his recent run, 5-4, 5-5 in the last 4 starts for him, 6-4, 10-7, 4-3, 6-3, 5-2, 7. Like Jack Campbell's been like we've talked about the Jack Campbell overtrend when he starts a game. It's very real. I mean, I think it's something like 12-1 or 12-2 to the over in his last 13 or 14 starts. I don't have the exact number in the top, off the top of my head, but it's something close to that. So it's hard to bet a Leaf game under right now. And they showed you last night where they had the best defensive first period they've had in a long time. And you'd think, wow, a great start. They're going to finally shut you down, and somehow Columbus gets themselves right back into the game and gets 4 goals. So it's just an impossible team for me to bet under right now. It's over or pass for me in this game. That's probably the only way I'd bet it. I don't want to take Toronto in any sort of price range on a back-to-back, even though they're so much better than Seattle. They clearly are. But at this price range, no, not with their defensive lapses and Jack Campbell with a struggling confidence in net right now. If anything, I'd look over 6.5. Maybe from a side perspective, we'll find something live during the betcast tonight for this game. Andrew, Seattle, Toronto.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I mean, I had a little bit of piece of the puck line last night, Ian, on that game, as well as my regulation wager. And
oh my gosh,
I wasn't a happy camper, man. I was not a happy, we bet every day, right? I don't get too frustrated when I lose bets, but that one didn't sit right with me. I needed to cool off for a second after that because Patrick Laine with what turned out to be a meaningless goal at the end, because thank goodness the Leafs had that 2-goal cushion, or else we might have seen some deja vu from the Blue Jackets. But that one didn't sit right with me at all. But,
nor should it. Those suck. I mean, when you're up by 2 and you got the puck line and you give up a goal with 40 seconds left, I mean, that's shitty. I mean, it just is. I mean,
it was rough, because I'm happy about the regulation wager, and I'm like, this is going to be a perfect night. The puck line's it was a great third period from the Leafs, other than the final couple minutes there. But yeah, great. Bunting's been great call by you, talking about him quite a bit. I've been discussing him too. That bottom 6 had a great performance from the Maple Leafs last night. I have to mention that. How about my new favorite Leaf guy to chirp, John Tavares? 2 horrible penalties to take. Looks like he's underwater when he's skating right now. I mean, that guy's making $12 million a year to go out there and have some exercise. I wish someone would pay me to go to the YMCA.
That's such a bad penalty. And he's the captain of the team. That's the example you're setting for your teammates, taking a lazy, stupid, mindless penalty like that early in the third period when you got a 1-goal lead on the road, knowing that could give a dangerous offensive team, which is the strength of Columbus right now. Momentum, brutal. Absolutely.
Well, I'm about to go to the YMCA here shortly before the betcast. If anybody wants to pay me $12 million just to get some exercise, I would
sit in the box for 2 minutes with some penalties in a tight game. Yeah, I can do that.
I wouldn't mind that either. But you look at this. I think Seattle's coming off a close game, and I always say that don't let the scoreboard fool you as to how a game went. And they actually played a really competitive game. And their past couple games, they've kind of hung around here, but I don't think it's a good spot for them. And you look at the Maple Leafs schedule. I talked about it yesterday. That matchup yesterday against Columbus, Ian, was the toughest game they're going to play all week, right? And Jack Campbell here, I haven't seen the number come out. If anybody in the live chat has seen it, let me know. But I'm very, very, very interested in Jack Campbell's save prop tonight. Very interested in that. I think Seattle is going to do what every team is doing against the Leafs right now and just put shots. You know, they're going to be blasting that Lil Jon song in the locker room before the game, you know, just getting ready to absolutely, you know, throw everything they possibly can at the net against the Maple Leafs, because that's what turns into goals against that team. You know, nobody really is scoring highlight goals against the Leafs right now. It's garbage goals, tap-ins and rebounds and that kind of stuff. So I actually am very interested in looking at Jack Campbell's save prop. But hey, sign me up for the Maple Leafs team total here. I'm going to look at it, and you know, it might be a little juicy, but I think that's the best play to go here. I think, you know, we saw Austin Matthews get on the board last night, and his line didn't even get rewarded that much last night. That's what's dangerous. I mean, everybody knows I love making fun of the Leafs. You know, the argument of Draisaitl versus Matthews is an absolute joke to me. I mean, Matthews to me is the better player because he shows up more consistently, I think. And you look at that line that barely had that strong of a game, couldn't finish many plays. I think Matthews and his line could have had 2 or 3 goals in that game. They could have had even more. There were lots of chances. And like I said, I looked at the schedule. The Leafs were my buy team this week, and I'm going to continue to try and put my money where my mouth is and back it up. So I just don't think Seattle can compete with them. Had to mention that McCann signing that 5-year deal today. Obviously, they're putting pen to paper and trying to sign somebody for a longer term, and someone that's been great for him. He's been a great shots on goal prop, and usually we're getting over 2.5 with him, which has been great. But yeah, I don't think Seattle can hang with the Leafs right now, and I think that I've been talking about a lot of situational spots. And what's the same thing I said about Vegas, Ian? Right, the exact same thing. If this was the Maple Leafs 2 months ago, month and a half ago, maybe I'd say this could be a letdown spot. Right now, there's no such thing as a letdown spot for Jack Campbell and the Maple Leafs. You know, they need to get rolling. They want to get back to consistent hockey, and I expect that from them. But I'll probably look towards the Leafs in some way, shape, or form tonight.
Yeah, I might because it's the bet cast, and the more bets, the more fun. And especially when you're keeping it, you know, I have my own pile of money for the bet cast. It's separate from my day-to-day bankroll money, you know, because it's I don't want to say it's play money, like I don't want to lose it, obviously, but you know, you take it out of your regular day-to-day betting money. But this feels like a game where I could get creative with the league, because I do think in the pit of my gut, after a scare from Columbus, kind of not finishing that game the right way, this could be one where you get a little creative and go on a -2.5 or a -3.5 alternative puck line for the Leafs, that maybe they just hammer the hell out of this Seattle team, you know, and Jack Campbell finally steps to the plate and has a monster night in net. And by the way, the Toronto team total is calling my name in the first period, 1.5 plus 180. You know, just to get 2 quickies in the first period.
What's the -0.5 goal?
Minus that, yeah, good comparison. You know, which one's the better value? Plus 180 for over 1.5 goals, Toronto first period, or the -0.5, which is only plus 110 in the first.
Very
period.
Interesting.
I'd rather go for the 1.5 over plus 180 and get a better price on that. I think they could get 2 goals early in the game, and you'd think they're going to be at their most energized. They're freshest tonight, early in the game, in the first period, as compared to the third period when it's the tail end of this back-to-back. So, you know, that first period team total for Toronto certainly looks appealing to me. Plus 180, you know, that's not bad, I think. That might be something to get involved with here in this game tonight between the Kraken and the Leafs. By the way, I went back and looked. This is even bigger a trend with Jack Campbell games starts over the total than I thought. Going back to, I believe, January the 8th, with Jack Campbell in net for the Leafs, 13-1 to the over.
Yeah.
I knew it was something like very, very strong. 13-1 in 14 Campbell starts to the over since January the 8th. Wow.
I'll tell you what, Ian, I know I have my fun with the Leafs, and last night I told you and Jimmy, I wasn't impressed with it, but I have a gut feeling. I just have a gut feeling tonight that his shots on goal prop, or excuse me, his save prop is a real good one to bet. Because when you're a big favorite, your goalie's save prop is always low. And like I said, Seattle's going to throw a bunch of, to me, meaningless shots. And what I say by that is, like, shots to freeze the puck and go to the bench and get a change. You know what I mean? Like shots at the chest protector and that kind of stuff. And the Leafs are going to try and keep things to the outside. I'm going to try and pull up DraftKings right now. Do you have it up, Ian? I'm really curious what that prop is. I didn't look at it before.
I will take a look right now. We will look here just in 1 second here. Seattle, Toronto, because they will definitely have that as an option available. Here we go with player props. Okay. Points. There we go. Shots, power play points, assists, goalie saves. Jack Campbell over 25.5. Yep.
Yeah. Sign me up. Sign me up for that. I'm going to bet that right after the show's over.
There you go. Right after. There you go. Sign him up. He's getting in with Jack Campbell over 25.5 saves here in this game.
Do you like it?
I do. Well, I think, you know what? They do want to play better defensively. I get it, but they still seem to give up shots. And the Toronto, even when they do want to play, they're going to give up shots. I think we've resigned ourselves to think that about the Leafs.
Yeah.
Lately. And again, you're not asking for 30 saves or 40 saves from Campbell. 26, will get you there. So, yeah, I think in theory, conceptually, there's reasons to like that. No question. All right, we move on to one of the better games as well on this Tuesday night card. And, of course, we'll be on during the BetCast. New York Rangers, Minnesota Wild. Minnesota minus 165, home favorites, 6 the total in this one. We've got this total is really I have to do a double take when I saw it. It actually opened 5.5 with juice in some spots. It went quickly to 6. And it's not only basically gone past 6 in a lot of spots. Most books have it 6.5 now, this total. DraftKings actually still has a 6, but it's juiced at minus 130 or minus 125 rather in this game. So this is a huge, huge move toward the over. And have you been watching Minnesota's defense lately? You can kind of understand why that is. But the counter argument to that is, you got the Rangers here, and you've got you got Georgiev in net. I beg your pardon. I thought for sure we were going to see Igor Shesterkin tonight, but that's not the case. Alexander Georgiev getting the start. There's no back-to-back here.
Yeah, they changed it. They changed it.
Yeah, no question. This is
Igor was expected at pretty much every single goaltending website all day.
That explains it. I'm like, because I early this morning I thought it was going to be Shesterkin. 100%, and it is confirmed now. Multiple sites have it confirmed. Alexander Georgiev. Okay, now it makes perfect sense why this total's gotten hit up here in this game. Yeah, I'm on board with that now. Now that it's Georgiev in net, I'd look over 6 here, minus 125 in this game. We talk about Minnesota overs at home. What are they now? 18-5 over the total, excluding pushes on home ice. And now you're going to have the weaker of the two goalies in net for the Rangers. I'm not saying Georgiev's terrible. And the one thing about Georgiev tonight is he could actually be really amped up because his name is being floated around out there in tons of trade rumors that there's so many teams looking for a goalie, to add to their goaltending room at the trade deadline. And Georgiev is one of the targets for a lot of these teams. So for Alexander Georgiev tonight, this could very well be a spotlight, if you will, a showcase. And he's not chopped liver. We've seen him play. I've seen him play great. Andrew's seen him play great on several occasions. But it's just that consistency that he just doesn't have.
It's also a bad shadow he lives in, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the shadow of Shesterkin is a dark shadow. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, when you're playing behind a goalie like that, it's very, no, Ian, he's terrible from a Rangers fan, says Jeff. Okay.
Look at it from a Habs fan. If you put any goaltender as a backup to Carey Price, you'd think that guy sucks. You know what I mean? Because you're looking at Price one night, the next day you got whoever's the backup, and they're not going to be comparable to the number one. Yeah. So
there's no doubt. So Georgiev's in net. I'm a little bit shocked by this because of the fact that they don't play back to back. There's still, even with a struggling Minnesota Wild team, they've been good. Or they've been good all season. They're struggling now, but they're still, a formidable team on their home ice. You got to be weary of them still. So it is surprising to see Georgiev in. He's 0-4 in his last 4 starts. Three of those games have gone over the total as well. So it makes sense for me liking the over here. Rangers team total over, I think could get, if you like the Rangers, and I still lean Rangers. I'm probably going to split this up. Even with Georgiev in net, how do you have confidence with Minnesota minus 170 right now? I mean, they're just playing terribly. I cashed a best bet on the show Sunday with the Dallas Stars. I was surprised they were plus 130 underdogs there against Minnesota. They played a little bit better lately, the Stars. Minnesota with no confidence right now. And Dallas got the job done in that game against Minnesota. I can't get there laying a price with the Wild right now. Can't do it. And I thought for sure the return of Matt Dumba on the blue line, Matt Zuccarello up front was going to give them a little shot in the arm, a little boost against Dallas on Sunday. It didn't happen. They still had the same issues that have been plaguing them. Soft defense. That's another thing that's alarming. It's a soft team to play against right now, Minnesota. It's too easy to work the puck around the offensive zone. It's too easy to get to those prime scoring areas. It's too easy to crash the crease against their goaltender right now, whether it's Talbot or Kakkonen. It's just too easy right now, and that continues to be an issue. So I still lean Rangers, even with Georgiev. I can't lay a price with Mini right now, but I like Rangers team total a little bit for sure, because I think they know, hey, with Georgiev and net, we've got pieces that can score. Zibanejad, Kreider, and company. We're going to have to find some goals tonight to help them win this game. Team total for the Rangers is 2.5 minus 135. I think that's a very good bet, and I like the full game over as well. Andrew, Rangers Wild.
At 5.5 with Igor, I liked the under, but at 6 or 6.5 at the rare book, I'm still going to stick with it here, Ian, with the under. Minnesota at home is a different team. Minnesota still has plenty of talent. Hasn't been a great go of it for them recently. But, the Rangers, to me, I think that they're offensively capable and talented. We know some of the great players that they have, but they aren't strangers to lower scoring games by any means. And it's kind of like what I was saying a few minutes ago. I mean, you live in the shadow of Shesterkin. You're kind of like that ugly stepsister. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's what he is. Georgiev is a good goaltender, but he's definitely been exposed a few times. And I think, some of the reasons why the Wild, to your point, have not done well recently is because of some defensive mistakes. So I'm going to go for the under here tonight, similar to what I saw last night with the Oilers and Flames. I just think we're going to see emphasis from both teams on defense out the gate. And hopefully, even if we get some goals late in the game, that won't be enough to get it over the total. So give me the under 6 here, Ian.
All right. I like the bravery there. Under 6 here with this Minnesota defense, with the Minnesota overtrend at home, and of course Georgiev in net instead
Don't love taking unders, but
hey. We'll see. Maybe like Minnesota's talking, hey, we got to stop making mistakes with the puck. We got to tighten it up. We got to be better defensively. But I've heard that few games now, and we're still seeing issues with them. Plus their goaltending. The problem is, too, it's not all the team defense. There's shots that are going in on these two goalies that have to be stopped, both of them. Talbot's been guilty of this. Kakkonen gave up a horrible goal to Jason Robertson. Jason Robertson's on fire right now for Dallas. Nobody's denying that.
He's awesome.
He's a hell of a forward at the moment. It's terrific. Quick release. When he gets that puck off the stick, it's like in a nanosecond, and it can find the back of the net. It's not easy to obviously make a save against that guy. But that goal that Kakkonen gave up to Robertson Sunday, the backbreaker when it made it 4-1, he's got to stop that. In between the arm and the body, those are always goals that the goalie's got to have, shots that the goalies have to have.
Ian, you remember last week when the Capitals and Hurricanes played, and every single person said it was too good to be true on the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yep.
And Washington beat them like 4-0.
Yep.
I just have that weird feeling about tonight.
Too good to be true that the Rangers are getting plus 150 or 45.
I said that earlier on a show, and of course now we have Georgiev in nets, but I just have that feeling. Everybody woke up that day and they bet on Carolina. The ticket count was absolutely hilarious. And I'm never really one to say this type of stuff, but sometimes it is kind of head scratching, right? Like Carolina didn't score a goal that game. I can't say the bookmakers knew that was going to happen, but there's something weird going on here, man. I think it's you talk about public dogs in the NFL every week. The Rangers are going to be a public dog tonight.
They will be. They will be, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see because public dog is usually, the term public dog is a team that people have taken notice of. They're playing well at the time, like the Rangers are right now. And they're the public dog, and you're seeing the bets coming in on the Rangers and the money's come in on Minnesota. That's what we're seeing here in this game. So it's interesting. That's not something I usually say in the NHL is a big deal. In the NFL, I pay attention. In college football, I pay attention to those situations with public dogs, and I'm a little more weary and leery and concerned usually when I'm on a public dog in those sports. But we'll see. This is going to be something to track, maybe starting with a game like this one tonight. Let's see how this performs in the NHL when the bets are coming in on the dog, but the money's coming in on Minnesota, the favorite.
Yeah.
So interesting. We'll see how this one plays out. Ottawa, St. Louis. We've got St. Louis minus 260, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. As far as it goes here, whoops, that's not Vegas. We'll correct that. But yeah, St. Louis taking on Ottawa tonight. So the Blues obviously didn't finish the road trip the way they wanted. They dropped back-to-back games to the Islanders and the Devils over the weekend. Certainly they're going to be looking to bounce back, play better here at home, taking on this Ottawa Senators team that just got bombed by the Arizona Coyotes of all teams in their last game. So both of these teams, I think, bring with a purpose here in this game tonight, Senators and Blues. Kind of like both teams to score maybe in the first period here. We'll see. I think because both teams need the victory. Both teams are not happy with the way they played. You could see some early aggression, in a game like this, and both teams really looking to find the back of the net and get a good positive start in this game. So you could look maybe in that direction with that. Currently, it's plus 150 for both teams to score in the first period. I don't hate that. I think that's probably the only thing I'd consider in this game, because I think it could be a 1-1 first period, and then you get it slowing down a bit. The Blues, they've kind of offensively, they've kind of dried up a little bit here these last few games. They only scored 3 goals over the weekend in those 2 games against the Islanders and the Devils. Concerning sign, because New Jersey's not exactly a defensive stalwart, only scoring 2 goals in that game Sunday afternoon against New Jersey. Ottawa coming off a 2-1 loss to Vegas, which followed that 8-5 debacle against Arizona, but they've lost 5 in a row. I'm not laying this kind of price, though, with the Blues, even if they need the game after 2 straight road losses now back home. If anything, I'd look at that both teams in the first period, plus 150 to get on the board. Andrew, what do you think here? Sens Blues.
Yeah, not as bold with that, the plus money there, but what I have locked in is the first period over in this game. And it's like 140 now, 145. I think I've said before on the show, first period overs are one of the main things that I don't mind laying some juice on. Just because I like that 1.5 versus the 2 and stuff like that. When you look at this game, both teams have struggled in their own individual ways. Obviously, Ottawa continues that road trip. I believe this is their last game, like you said, and you were talking about. And St. Louis, they can't be happy with themselves either. So, when I look down the last 4 or 5 games and I see several L's next to both their names and giving up goals for both of them, I think this one's going to be an exciting first period here. So a lot of times I've taken these with minus 140 or 45 juicy and recently and done pretty well with them. So I'm not scared to lay the chalk here with these first period bets if I think it adds up to be a good spot. These teams should both be very hungry out the gate, and I think we should cash this early.
All right, like in the over 1.5 first period, Ottawa, St. Louis. Sundqvist out for the Blues, depth forward. Connor Brown day-to-day for the Senators. So those are the main potential absences and injuries for both teams coming into this game. All right, Tampa Bay, Winnipeg. We've got the Lightning minus 175 road favorites in this game, 6 the total across the board here in this one. The Jets, the games are dwindling down, and they are just not finding ways to win them. At the moment, they could play well. They could outshoot the team like they did against the Rangers, like they did against the Stars. They deserve to win. They deserve wins in both of those games. But instead, they lose 4-3 in overtime to Dallas. They lose 4-1 at home to the Rangers. They played well. They had shots. They had chances. They carried the play. But at the end of the day, they're not winning. Their defensive breakdowns are, when they happen, they're ugly for the Winnipeg Jets. Some of these defensive breakdowns, just letting teams have second, third chances, in front of your net, which just can't happen. You got to be a little harder in front of the net. Winnipeg's not that right now. And look, we got to start pointing some fingers too at Connor Hellebuck. He's got to be better than he's been lately. There's too many games now where he's given up 4 goals or more in recent starts. He's got to pick his shit up right now. This is a team that needs victories right now. I don't need to see you acting like, like you're zoned out or you're on, you're high or you're under the influence or something. When your press conferences, you always sound like you're under the knife or something. We need you to perform in the net right now for the Winnipeg Jets, because time's a-wasting. Time's running out. You're falling further behind the 2 wildcard teams, and the games remaining are dwindling down. So you can't have a run if you're Connor Hellebuck, where you've given up 6 against Colorado, 4 against Montreal, 4 against Dallas, and 4 against the Rangers, which is what he's done in his last 4 starts. He's just not been keeping the puck out right now for the Winnipeg Jets. And when you have a team that defensively is kind of every mistake they make is going in the net, you need your goalie to rise up in those spots. He's not doing that for the Winnipeg Jets. Tampa, on the other hand, is Tampa's Tampa. 7-1 in their last 8 games. They had one really bad game, and it was bad against Pittsburgh. They got completely dominated by the Penguins in that game at home. But other than that, they've gotten the job done in every other game. It's hard to envision them, even with Winnipeg needing the win. I've got to see evidence of them actually pouring it on and finding a way to win at this point in time. They're not doing it. Maybe the over gets there. It's 6 in this game. Hellebuck's fighting the puck right now at this point in time. We've seen over series history between these two teams. The last 4 meetings, 5-4, 5-2, 4-3, 7-1. So all 4 of them have gone over 6 goals. Tampa Bay, is definitely they've had some issues with Winnipeg at times, especially here in Winnipeg, but not the last time they played here in Winnipeg, where they won 7-1 against the Jets. And Jets are finding ways to lose right now, and that's not a team I'm interested in backing. Even though they need the game, they're getting a nice home dog price, but they've needed the game a few in a row and still found a way to lose. So it's difficult to actually put your faith and your dollars down on the Winnipeg Jets to win a game like this. So maybe I get to the over, but that's about it for me in this game. What do you think, Andrew? Tampa, Winnipeg?
Yeah, pretty big totals night for me, and pretty much that's what's going to be like a lot of the time, because we're seeing just bigger prices. I'll tell you what, though, to be completely honest with you, I don't bet big prices that much, but I actually wouldn't even have a problem betting the Lightning minus 170. I wouldn't. I think it's cheap. Honestly do. I think Winnipeg, they're once again, I've been doing that segment I told you about for about 4 or 5 weeks now. They again landed in my sell segment here, the Winnipeg Jets, just because of their defense. They can't keep the puck out of their own end. And on games they have good scoring production, they're still shaky. I mean, how does a team, even against my favorite team a couple of Tuesdays ago or Thursday, score 4 goals and then give up 4 and then score 4 again? I mean, that stuff just doesn't happen. I'm on the over 60, and I think both teams get involved. I think we see goals from both parts, and I think that we're going to see shots, everywhere from both. And you look at Tampa Bay's games they played recently, it's been kind of interesting. It's been against good competition, weak competition, good competition. It's been a little bit up and down here. So I'm not exactly sure where Winnipeg falls under as far as, the competitiveness for this game for Tampa Bay. But I do think Winnipeg gets up for it and gets some goals themselves. You look at the games they played recently, it honestly hasn't really been as much about their goal production as it has been about keeping the puck out of their own end. So I think we're going to take over 6 here. And I think if it was 6.5, I'd be a little surprised, but at 6, I'll take it.
All right, taking the over at 6 with Tampa, Winnipeg. And like I said, 4 straight, and they've all gone 7 or more total goals head-to-head the last 4 meetings between the Lightning and the Jets. We'll see if that keeps up tonight. This is probably a decent prop game as well, potentially. When you look at getting involved, we'll probably look to get involved in that. This is an 8 p.m. Eastern game. And what I'm going to do tonight is, because we want to get this show probably done here in the next 10 minutes, is I'm going to save a lot of the goal props that I'm going to bet on these 8 p.m. Eastern games and later until the betcast tonight. I'll mention them, and I'll make time to mention them before the puck drops. So if anyone wants to bet them or tail them as well, you can do that. We'll definitely mention some player props for these 8 p.m. games, and I'll definitely have some in this game here between the Lightning and the Jets tonight for sure. All right, next up, we've got a very good game, playoff positioning. Both of these teams battling for it right now, Dallas and Nashville. We've got Nashville minus 140, home favorites in Music City. The total 5.5 here in this game. I kind of like here in this matchup Dallas a little bit. I'm starting to change my tune a little bit on this Dallas team and the way they've played lately. Is it always pretty? No. Do they get outplayed and outshot in a few games? Yes, absolutely they do. But at the end of the day, this team's 7-2 in their last 9 games. You can't argue with that. They've found ways to win. They've got themselves a potential good young goalie in the making in Jake Ottinger. I can't say enough about how good he was now. And I said this on Sunday. Part of the reasoning for me with liking the Stars as a dog against the Wild on Sunday was Jake Ottinger, Lakeville, Minnesota native, playing close to home family and friends in attendance at XL Energy Center Sunday afternoon, and he rose to the occasion. When that Dallas team took the lead, he shut the door. They got a couple of goals with the net empty, obviously late to make it close, but he had a very good game for the Dallas Stars, and I figured he would play well. He'd be amped up for that, and he delivered. Jake Ottinger for the Dallas Stars. And Rick Bowness was saying the other day, they're going to ride this kid now. No disrespect to Braden Holtby, but they're going to really try to turn the keys over to Jake Ottinger, the keys to the bus, if you will, or the car. And they are going to look to do that moving forward. And he's back in net tonight for the Dallas Stars here against Nashville. You got the Predators, on the other hand. They just come off an absolute ass kicking that they handed out to the San Jose Sharks, 8-0. Alex Stalock, an emergency goalie that was used for San Jose, all of a sudden called up and in the net. Welcome back to the NHL, Mr. Stalock. Holy mackerel, gave up 8 goals in that game. So not a good result for San Jose, but a much-needed bounce back after Nashville lost to Tampa and Seattle in back-to-back games prior to that. So now they're back home where their record overall for the year at home is pretty solid, 15-10. But they actually have one more road win than home win. So this is a Nashville team that's been able to win both at home and on the road. Now, for the year, Dallas's road record's terrible. It's not good at all. But lately, we've seen some improvement from Dallas on the road. They went to Colorado. They beat the Avalanche 4-1. They beat Winnipeg in overtime Friday night 4-3. They beat Minnesota 6-3 on Sunday. So while the road record for Dallas, which we've harped on, Andrew, all year being what a bad road team, they're playing a little bit better on the road right now. I'm interested to come back to won't be my best bet tonight for the show, but I'm interested maybe to come right back to Dallas here, getting a nice little plus 120 price. What do you think here, Andrew, Stars and Predators?
Well, I've mentioned before, a lot of times when teams play each other for the second time in just a short period, usually I like to look at towards the opposite of whatever the total was the first time around. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go over 5.5, Dallas, Nashville tonight. Both these teams obviously have had a couple games between the two meetings, but I think we're going to see revenge on the mind. But I think we're going to see a competitive game. And, one thing that you said 2 years ago to me, and we talked about this together and we were both in agreement, is that big games in hockey used to lead to unders. It's not the case anymore. Big games now are goal fests. And I think that both these teams are going to be a little bit chippy, physical, could be some power plays in this game. And I think we get over 5.5 here at a pretty good number. So I'm going to go for some goals here in this one, over 5.5.
Yeah, this one to me, kind of some of the matchup things that I look at kind of point maybe this game stays under, but it's 5.5, and you've got Dallas going over in 3 straight. And Nashville's actually been kind of trending that way as well. 4 of their last 6 games have gone over as well. So, and at 5.5, I'm just not doing it. I can't even remember the last time I bet an under 5.5 in an NHL game. It's got to be 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and that might even be kind, me saying that. That's how long ago it's been. And for good reason. These 5.5s are too scary for my blood to be betting these under, especially in the regulars. Maybe in the playoffs you can make a better case for an under 5.5. But
let me ask you this, Ian. If I gave you a pick 'em odds right now, and that's not obviously what they are, does Nashville make the playoffs?
Wow. I don't like the way their game's trending right now. And look, I was willing to give them a break, but when you look at it, Dallas has actually passed them now. And at 67 points in the playoff race at this point in time.
I got them plus 240 to miss the playoffs, man. And after I bet that, it looked horrible. It looked absolutely dog shit. Yep. And now they've kind of slid a little bit, and I'm looking a little bit better on that.
Saros has not been great lately. He's been very, very erratic, very, very inconsistent. And I like this young kid's getting better in net for Dallas too, Ottinger. I've really liked what he's been doing as of late. And by the way, what I like too for Dallas, and I like the Dallas side here, plus 120. When you look at the head-to-head with Nashville, the last time they played them, the only time they played, or actually they played them twice, but Dallas won at home. Nashville beat them in Nashville, but it was 2-1, and I thought Dallas was better than Nashville when they beat Nashville 4-3 at home, February 9th. February 24th, 2-1 Nashville in a shootout. Dallas actually had the better of the play. Expected goals, danger chances, shots, they all favored Dallas in that game, so they probably deserved a better fate. So that's 2 games where they've looked like they've been the better team head-to-head than Nashville. So that's why I kind of like Dallas here as well, plus 120. Andrew liking the over here, 5.5, Dallas and Nashville. All right, before we get to our last 2 games, we want to mention DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NHL, and great partners with the Ice Guys and THPN. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL team, get $150 in free bets if they win. That's right, a bump in the win column for your team means free bets for you. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, we move along to Anaheim, Chicago. Next up in the Windy City, we've got the Anaheim Ducks, or we've got Chicago rather, minus 120, home favorites in this game, 6 the total. I like Anaheim here. I just do. I mean, there's a lot more at stake for Anaheim at this point in time. Their offense certainly has been solid. Not so much their defense. We know they've had issues keeping the puck out of the net. We know that John Gibson in particular has had a really tough time. I mean, it is very odd to see John Gibson struggling to the lengths that he has been struggling especially since the All-Star break. But when you look at this Chicago team, there's just a whole boatload of issues. Defensively, look at how it just came totally unraveled for them against Tampa Bay. Third period lead Saturday afternoon against Philadelphia. Couldn't hold the lead. They're just having a boatload of issues right now. Crisis of confidence defensively. Those defensive woes that have been here with Chicago for years, that maybe earlier this year they had, patched those up a little bit. Those defensive woes are coming back again. They're giving up 6 to Tampa, 4 to Philly, 3 to Edmonton, although they're lucky they didn't give up more, 4 to St. Louis, 5 to New Jersey, 5 to Florida, 7 to Columbus. I mean, it's just been ugly for Chicago defensively. I think it's going to be dangerous for them against this Anaheim team that's, look, they lost to Vegas 5-4. I thought admirable in defeat. They beat Boston 4-3, a good Bruins team. They had a little tough stretch there. They lost back-to-back to the Kings and the Islanders. I don't know what happened in the Islanders game. They were just flat. And Dallas Eakins said that. But since that shutout to the Islanders, they played better. They could have easily been 3-0 in those games. They're obviously playing for their playoff lives. They're still in the chase. It's a game they can win. It's starting a road trip, so I expect focus. I like Anaheim here, and Chicago's over or pass for me from a totals perspective with what I'm seeing from this defense. And it's been so bad in front of their goalies that not even Marc-Andre Fleury right now can bail out this team from what's going on in front of them at the moment. Andrew, what do you think, Anaheim, Chicago?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead here with the dog because I just, I think Anaheim is kind of in a better place right now. I just think that whether they're playing well or not, I just like the effort I get from Anaheim every single night. I feel like the Blackhawks kind of pick their spots when they want to show up here. And I don't think the Blackhawks deserve to be minus 120 here. I know Alex talked about that briefly yesterday on the show, and I kind of feel the exact same way. So this isn't one I've bet quite yet, but if I was going to, I'd look towards the dog.
It's just hard to trust Chicago at the moment. They've been bad. It's been a rough go, 2-7 the last 9 games. They beat New Jersey 8-5, which is a decent win. But New Jersey was on a back-to-back, too, and they beat Pittsburgh the night before. I remember that spot. So it was definitely a bit of a tricky spot for the Devils, and Blackhawks took advantage of it. And then, of course, Chicago with the 4-3 overtime win against Edmonton, where, again, that they could have went either way. Those were the 2 victories for the Blackhawks during this stretch, so it's not been good. And then they beat a struggling Winnipeg team as well before that, and really had the game stolen from them by Fleury. So they're stolen for them, I should say, by Fleury. So I think Anaheim's definitely the better squad, and you're getting a reasonable price here at them, starting a road trip at around even money. All right, final game now of this this card for this Tuesday. It's a massive one, 11 games. This is the final game here. Washington Capitals taking on the red-hot, surging Flames It has been an incredible run for Calgary. They're minus 130, minus 135 home favorites here, 6 the total in this one. So Calgary it kind of feels like, why bet against this team right now, Andrew? They're a machine. They're rolling. They've beaten, Colorado on the road, which is not easy to do, in a great overtime game, which is also another thing you mentioned before. Big games lead to overs. That was a big game, and what happened? Game went over the total with Calgary and Colorado. And then last night, Calgary and Edmonton, a little bit more of a tighter checking game, but Calgary found a way to win that one as well against the Oilers last night with a victory in the Battle of Alberta. And that's what's scary about the team, Calgary. They can win many different ways at this point in time. And they're showing you that they are capable of winning a 5-4 or a 6-5 game, and they can also get it done with their goaltending from Jacob Markstrom and win a lower scoring game because they've got that defensive foundation. They've got that, penalty kill's been good. Special teams overall has been good. Their 5-on-5 play has been strong. All of those things have been working for Calgary. But I saw something and heard something from Daryl Sutter after last night's game, and he said it about both teams, and especially his own team. We look tired out there. Played a lot of games in a short period of time. Both teams, especially Calgary, and now you've just beaten your arch rivals. You don't like Edmonton. You hadn't beaten them yet this year, and you finally beat them last night for the first time this season. And then you had the monster win against Colorado, Showdown Central, 2 of the top teams in the West and the NHL. This is that spot where I could see that old laying of an egg for the Calgary Flames, and especially early in the game. I think there's an opportunity for Washington to pounce here, potentially early in this game. So this is going to be your contrarian, because I know everybody's going to be just so in awe with the Calgary Flames right now, and you should be. They are playing terrific, but I don't like the situation. It stinks to me. You got the coach complaining and about how tough the schedule's been. So many games in a short period of time. You've got Dan Vladar in net, by the way, tonight on the second of a back-to-back, who, by the way, played great against Colorado in that surprise start that he made Saturday. But can he do it again now against Washington, a rested Capitals team that finally, for as much as we've badmouthed and ripped Washington, they've at least shown you the pulse here these last couple games. Back-to-back wins to snap the losing streak against Carolina and Seattle. Carolina one was very impressive. They have a chance maybe to pounce on maybe a little mentally beaten down, physically worn down Calgary team. That's 2 intense games back-to-back. Edmonton and Colorado, they gave it their all. They emptied the tank, the Flames, in both of those games. What's left tonight in this spot? Back-to-back, 3rd and 4 nights against Washington. I don't know, but I like Washington first period here on the money line. You can get that at around plus 110 and a little sprinkle on the full game as well, plus 115. I think this is a very dubious scheduling spot and all-around situation for the Flames. Even for as good as they're playing, they could be vulnerable tonight, right for the picking. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, there's just so many games, and I've discussed so many opinions that I have on tonight's card. This is going to be one I'm going to stay away from. Full transparency, it could be something I look towards in game. At some point, if I'm still kicking around the bet cast with you guys, then it could be something I look towards. But to be honest with you, I just don't think it's enough of a bargain at plus 115 with the Caps. That's what's getting me off this one, man.
It's also which is true. I mean, this is definitely a line that looks a little short on Calgary. Yeah. But then you start to step back and look at the situations. Are they putting it this short for a reason? Are they baiting you? Are they just are they putting the bait down and they're trying to reel you in like a fisherman here toward the Calgary Flames, just keeping them so short? So that I do. The bottom line is I like the first period a lot more than the full game. I should point that out. My stronger stance on Washington is early. First period, the big intense showdown with the Oilers last night, and they got a big win. The win against Colorado early in the game, you could look. This feels like Montreal, Calgary, to be quite honest with you, a little bit, where Washington could win this game just like Montreal did, but especially really carry the play in the first period. Montreal carried the play in the first period against Calgary. They probably deserved to be ahead, but it was only 1-1. I mean, they had the better of the chances in that first period of that Habs Flames game last week. So I kind of think this kind of could play out the same way. So we'll see. Could be dead wrong, and Calgary's just too good right now, and they're going to roll once again tonight against – and Washington, look, is a kind of a erratic team. And it's, we're trusting a Washington team that's been disappointing at times, even though they've won 2 in a row, to beat a really elite level team at the moment. Can they do that is a big question. Great stuff. Andrew, and joining us on the show. Jimmy, by the way, had to leave early. His reception was terrible, but no worries. We'll get Jimmy back, of course, throughout the week. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just going to say, what about the first period there for the Capitals? I'd probably be more comfortable taking that even than taking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
than taking the full game.
I like the first period a little bit better than the full game for Washington, because I think that is definitely where Calgary could be a little bit more asleep, just a little. It might take them a while to get into this game, after Edmonton last night and Colorado, the big showdown on Saturday. So I do like the first period a little bit more with Washington than the full game. All right. Well, we're going to both talk about things that we definitely like a little bit more next up, because it's best bet time on the Tuesday edition. Andrew, what do you like for best bet?
As I look at this card, I try and find these certain situational spots, and I think I'm going to look towards the St. Louis game, St. Louis and Ottawa over in the first period, because I'm trying to find the updated odds, but I think it's like 140 or something like that. I really, really like that, and I've mentioned that I don't mind laying juice with this, and I know sometimes it's nice to give a better price for the best bet, but I'm telling you, I really think we're going to see a quick start from both teams. A lot of L's from both these teams recently, and performances they're both not happy with, and I think they both show up here in the opening frame. So look at the and maybe even to both teams to score. I haven't jumped on the bandwagon of that type of bet yet. Maybe it's time for me to do that, Ian, but I like the first period over, man.
There we go. So there you go. A little Ottawa St. Louis over 1.5 in the first period. Best bet for Andrew on this Tuesday card. By the way, I just went back and looked. It is a massive rest advantage for Washington, just because this is only like their third or fourth game in, like, I would say almost 2 weeks. This will be their fourth game, Washington, since February the 28th. So that's, a little over a week. This is only their fourth game. For Calgary, this is their fifth game in 8 days. So there is no question this is a tricky little situation for Calgary tonight. And lactic acid, good point the game, good thought, definitely could come into play later in the game. We'll see. My best bet for this, I don't know what, I've got a tough encore to follow up back-to-back underdog winners. Dallas on Sunday, the LA Kings get it done, plus 175, plus 180 last night against the Boston Bruins. Where are we going to go for best bet here tonight? It's a tough one, because I'm looking at a bunch of different spots here. I'm going to go, we're in an underdog groove. This is like Andrew earlier this year when he's putting out one play a day and it was working for him. The underdogs are working for me right now in best bets. Let's go Arizona Coyotes right now. They're feeling it. I can't believe I'm doing it. Arizona Coyotes best bet on the Ice Guys show. I would have bet under 0.5 times Arizona would be a best bet on this show for me.
You just cashed the over.
Started.
You just cashed the over there. Jimmy likes Nolan Patrick to score tonight, and he likes Vegas on the puck line.
Yeah.
Just wanted to shout that out.
All right, good stuff. Jimmy, you mentioned, exactly. Good job mentioning what he liked, because he sent it in the DM. But yeah, I'm going to go Let's see if we can make it three dog night. 3 dogs in a row here on the Ice Guys show as best bets. Yeah, Coyotes plus 150 here against Detroit. This is my boldest one of all. But really, is it that bold? I mean, Detroit's, like I say, they're a capable group. But minus 170 against an Arizona team playing their best hockey of the year. I think it's well worth a bet, and I think it's a live road dog here. So Arizona plus 150, plus 160 in some spots. That'll be my best bet for this Tuesday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. 230 live viewers. Incredible viewership. Hit the like button on the way out, and make sure you join us right back here for the Betcast, 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight. DM me if you want a link to join the Betcast. I'll send it to you. We'll be on for the entire night, right till the end of the Calgary game. So make sure you join us on the Ice Guys Betcast tonight, live, 7 p.m. Eastern. For Andrew McInnis and Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the games and good luck. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. Download the podcast on all the providers when you can't watch it live. For Andrew and Jimmy, I'm Ian. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you for the Betcast, 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. The Ice Guys Betcast, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.